Love often takes unexpected twists and turns, but that just makes the story more interesting.
I caught her, and that was it.
Oh my goodness, I think I'm falling in love with this boy.
I told my husband, if you marry me, you're going to laugh for the rest of your life.
Join us as we continue to bring to life the Canadian love stories of romance, family, friends, and community.
Well, love is the most important thing.
I was in Superstore one day and a lady comes up, she has her two daughters with her, and she said, we love your TikToks. I just wanted you to know that every week my husband makes the milkshakes for the family. And considering that we got together, it's a family time for David and I, it seems like it's extending out to the population at large, right? People are doing the same thing. So that's really encouraging.
Hello and welcome to the Canadian Love Map podcast, season 9. My name is Madison and I have been the producer on the podcast since season 8. You may recognize me from my recent Streeter episodes, but I'm here filling in this week for Nancy with another amazing tale to tell. Today's love story belongs to Larry and David, a father-son team from Fredericton, New Brunswick, who went viral for content on the sweeter side of TikTok. Some of you may know Larry better for his TikTok series called Milkshake Monday, which has gotten a comment from the iconic Lady Gaga and so many others. He and his son David started this account making drink tutorials, teaching his followers how to make Manhattans and Moscow Mules, but all of that changed when a follower asked, "Hey, can you make a kid-friendly drink?" And then Milkshake Mondays were born and blew up fast. Like 6.7 million followers fast. This is the Canadian Love Map. Larry and Dave, welcome to the Canadian Love Map podcast.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And I will say, being a 22-year-old and being chronically addicted to TikTok, I absolutely love your videos, and I know many a peer of mine are also very excited to hear this episode.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So kicking off, just to start off, I want to go back to Dave when you were a kid and you're growing up in your relationship with the two of you guys.
Oh, well, we've always been close, like with my dad. And I played with Lego a lot. So we'd always have sets that we'd get and work on together and stuff. And I was really into music. So dad was always very supportive of that, playing the guitar and the piano and the drums and a lot of stuff with like school bands and stuff like that. So, he'd always be coming to those and driving me to those things. And we did a lot of stuff together. And we always try to kind of like stay in touch even when, I got older and went to university. I went to university at the University of New Brunswick here. So I was able to kind of stay in town. So we always managed to kind of get together like once a week and, talk about our weeks and catch up and see what's going on. And now that I'm, grown up and moved out and married and have kids, we still get together once a week and catch up.
Oh, that's awesome. And Larry, I remember when we spoke a few weeks ago, you talked about having Dave's Day when he was younger. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think my wife had said in the very beginning, you need to have one day of the week that David can do whatever he wants. And, it's his day to choose. He wants to go skiing, if he wants to go skating in the summertime, maybe we go biking. We've done that all along. So it was her idea. So we just chose one day of the week. It was David's day. And that day we would just, two of us go out and do something fun. So as he's gotten older, we've just gone through that same process. We continued to get together once a week, and later years have a cocktail and a movie. So times have changed.
Yes, definitely. And what kept you guys close for so many years?
I think just choosing to do those things together. We always had fun times together. We enjoyed each other's company, everything from throwing a baseball around when he was younger to, we took a bike ride up to my parents' place in Stickney. That'd be about 120 kilometers from here. So we rode up one day and went swimming in a place that I used to swim in when I was young. It's a place called the Falls.
Lovely.
And so it's kind of a remember win for me. And we've just kept that relationship going. I think it's been great.
Yeah, and so you guys used to make cocktails together and, watch movies and bond. So how did all of that turn into a TikTok account and all of the fame and glory? Like, how did it all start?
I'll let Dave handle that.
Oh, well, we get together and we'd make cocktails. That's kind of how it started with the channel. And originally, when we were put together a book with a bunch of different recipes that we really liked. And then when TikTok came out, we found, well, we could just make a video of those recipes, so then we'd have them. And you didn't have to make your TikToks public. You could make it private and just share them with family and friends and that kind of thing. But we started. Dad made a video of one, and he calls me. He says, so I made the video and I put it out there, but I think it's public. How do we make it private? And I'm like, I don't really know. So he said, well, we'll just put it out there. I'm sure like there won't be that many people that see it anyway, and if they do, it won't be a big deal. So we just kept doing it. But then people would comment. They'd be like, oh, hey, that's a great drink. I really like the Manhattan. Can you make like a Cosmopolitan or something? So he'd be like, oh, okay. So he just started making the drinks that people were asking about, and the channel just kept getting bigger and bigger. Until one day somebody said, could you make a non-alcoholic drink? And he decided he'd make a milkshake.
Aw, I love that. That's awesome. How did your family and friends react to, the channel blowing up and everything that came after?
I think initially it just kind of it progressed fairly well, but not to the point where anybody would say, "Oh, I've seen you on TikTok. I know you," when you're out and about town. But it wasn't until we did I think it was the handmade milkshake, that it really took off, and then it was phone calls and interviews and and people recognizing me around town because I would be on TV or I'd be in the newspaper or whatever.
Yeah, and how has that been? I mean, people recognizing you, that's crazy.
It is. Yeah, I haven't gotten used to it. I mean, and it's always a surprise. I'll be walking through the mall at Champlain Place in Moncton or someplace like that. And the last time I was there, I was talking. I go to Freak Lunchbox. That's where I buy a lot of my sodas for the and Candy Depot as well. But the gal there at Freak Lunchbox says, "You have no idea how many young guys show up here every week." And says, "Is he here yet? Is he coming this week?"
Stop it.
I know. It's just crazy.
That's awesome. So how does that feel knowing that people see your videos and it inspires them to create their own content based off of what you've done?
It feels great. I mean, some of the comments that I've gotten around town, I was in Superstore one day and a lady comes up, she has her two daughters with her. And she said, we love your TikToks. I just wanted you to know that every week my husband makes the milkshakes for the family. And considering that we got together, it's a family time for David and I, it seems like it's extending out to the population at large, right? People are doing the same thing. So that's really encouraging.
Yeah, of course. And what kind of is your creative process? Weekly milkshakes, that's a lot of recipes. That's a lot to handle. So where do you find inspiration for all of this?
A lot of it is my followers. I had kept getting requests to make a milkshake, and the young people were saying, I don't have a blender. And I thought, well, how can you do that? So I sat down one day and I thought, well, a blender is nothing but a jar with some spinning metal inside. Maybe we could do one without the actual blender. So at any rate, I threw 3 scoops of ice cream in a mason jar, half a cup of milk, and some peanut butter, stirred it up, and voila, it actually worked. So that was my biggest milkshake, and in terms of views, and it came as a result of doing something that I was being asked to do. And most of my milkshakes are that way.
Oh, that's lovely. And Dave, I mean, a lot of people can't say that their dad is TikTok famous, worldwide TikTok famous. So how does that make you feel?
Oh, it's pretty crazy sometimes because it's all of a sudden somebody would talk to you about it, and you're like, them knowing who he was. Like when we ended up getting a book deal with Penguin, I I got the message first. They're like, well, I'm trying to get in touch with this TikToker named the White Elephant. I think that you two might be related, you know. And I thought it was a joke at first. So I was like, oh, do I take this to dad? I'm like, I'm not sure if this is legit anyway. But it ended up that it was, and that's how the whole book thing started. But having him be recognized, or people, talking to me about him, is always like a huge surprise, because it's the account really only started in 2021. So a lot of the attention's really been in the last like year or so.
Yeah.
Where it's really kind of exploded. But
I just have to also add that I reached out to Dave, I think it's your wife, on Facebook for this entire interview to happen.
Yeah.
I remember I searched up the last name because, Larry, you are a very hard man to find. I will say that right now. And I was interning at the company I work at, and I said, I was like, this is such a long shot, but please tell me you're related to him. And she's like, oh, I'm his daughter-in-law. Like, I'll pass along the email, and here we are today. So perseverance does pay off sometimes.
Yeah. That's why we're having an interview today.
Exactly.
I remember that too, because that was the first time that he was ever asked to be on a podcast before. So it was like, wow, this is pretty wild.
Very exciting.
Well, good on you to do that. I think maybe your next career will be in investigative journalism. You'll be searching people down.
I would love that. So obviously, going back to TikTok can be a super positive place, but also can have that negative side. So how have you dealt with any kind of negative feedback or backlash?
Sometimes the negative feedback is good for me. I'll get a comment and someone will make a criticism of something, the way I've done it or what I've used, and I'll learn from that. So I leave those comments up. I have no problem with that. Sometimes there'll be a conflict between two people. Someone will make a comment, someone will challenge them on it, and I'll let that go as long as it doesn't become personal or really nasty, right? Toxic. If it does, I'll remove it. I'll just take the comments down. And if the person keeps coming back, and you can always block somebody. I hate doing that, but there are people that just insist on being rude or whatever. And I think that I think of it as my home. If I was inviting a bunch of friends over, and if there's one person that was always there that was causing a stir and upsetting people, why would you invite that person, right? So I think of my account the same way. I want people there that are positive, and I think I've developed that over the last 3 years. It's very rare for me to take somebody and not let them be a part of it, but there are some.
Yeah. And I mean, going on to a positive note, I mean, what are some memorable? I know a certain celebrity commented on one of your TikToks before too. So tell me a little bit about that.
I think it was the French onion soup that I had made. As I made it for my wife, as she was craving French onion soup, and I made it. And Lady Gaga comes on and she says, "That's a delicious looking soup, and you're such a nice," something like that. Very positive comment anyway, right? That soup is great and you're sweet or whatever. So, it was wild. Yeah.
Stop it. That's, oh my gosh. I can't even imagine like how that feels. That must have been when you knew like you made it big. Like,
Yeah, it was really it was wild. And I think it was Lizzo that was on an episode of, what was it, The Mandalorian or something.
Yes, yeah, she was on.
And so
Star Wars.
I'd made a drink just for her, so she commented back as well. So kind of fun stuff when that sort of thing happens.
We couldn't share the great stories that we do here on the Canadian Love Map podcast without the amazing support of Charm Diamond Centers. They are Canada's largest family-owned jeweler, and they're proud to be putting love on the map. The folks at Charm Diamond Centers are thrilled to be a part of your love story. So visit charmdiamondcenters.com or one of your local stores. Love starts here.
yeah, that's so good to hear. And I mean, Dave, what do your kids think of this too? Like, this is also pretty cool for them.
Well, I mean, they were pretty young when a lot of this kind of first started, but now that they're kind of getting a little bit older, they're really kind of like it. And Seth has even come in and helped with some of the videos, and yeah, they'll both sometimes come when we film Milkshake Monday. Yeah, Sarah likes to come and hang out with my mom. So she'll hang out with Nana for a little bit, and then she'll come down and we'll have milkshakes. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's starting to become more of a family sort of thing. It's been really great.
The person that came, Nigel Farron, came up from Shediac to take the picture. She's an incredible photographer. So anyway, he comes up and he got a lot of pictures of the family together. So in the book, he's done some great shots of my wife and Melissa, David's wife, and the children and us. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that it'll be something there for the future, right? That the grandkids, well, their pictures are in the book, and so that's kind of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. And I mean, tell me a little bit more about this book. I mean, what's it all about?
Well, it's called, just happen to have a copy here.
Oh, very convenient.
It's called Milkshake Monday, which kind of makes sense.
Of course.
And so I think there's 80 plus frosty treats in there for people to look at. Plus, I've done syrups and sauces and that sort of thing. And it's a look into our family lives and how things go. There's even a story about the old blender told from his perspective.
Oh,
which is
wow,
kind
that'd be quite the interview.
yeah, it's called It's Great Getting Old.
That's
And-
awesome.
Yeah, he talks
Yeah.
about being in the store and people coming in and not picking him up, and then one day he ends up at our place, and it's
Pretty cute.
it's a fun story. The copy editor that was working in the book says the most fun she's ever had, so that was kind of cool.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And I mean, where did all this inspiration come from? I mean, was it collaborative, or how did that all come about?
I think it's been just the journey itself. We never started off to do anything. So we kind of feed off the comments and the requests and the enthusiasm of our followers. And it's just something that's just evolved over time. And it's just been a fun journey.
Yeah.
Aw, and what's the future hold for you guys?
Well, I hope that at some point in time, the book comes out in October. At the end of October, it's going to be carried in Indigo chapters in Canada, Barnes and Noble in the States. So, and it's actually international. It's selling in Australian and Europe as well. So, we're excited to see what happens with that. We've already got a publisher talking about the possibility of a second book, but my wife says absolutely not. She saw what it's a larger work process than you might think, and it took a lot of time away from other things, and so
It was definitely a bigger process than we thought.
yes, that's probably the better way to put it.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's so nice that it brought you guys closer together. And I mean, the photos and everything is so wonderful too.
Thank you. Oh, I like the photography in the book was so much fun. So yeah.
I love it. And you guys have done a lot of collaborations with different, companies and like people and everything. So who would be your dream collaborator or celebrity to do a milkshake with?
Celebrity. I'm not sure.
Celebrity. Well, I'm kind of partial to old time hockey on TikTok.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I think he's pretty great.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
I suppose a lot of other TikTokers maybe that would be kind of interesting to do with.
Yeah, there's some great people out there on TikTok that, and some of them have actually said that when they've already ordered the book, that when they get the book, they're going to do a video of them making one of the milkshakes. So that'll be fun to see.
That's so exciting. Oh my goodness. I will be waiting at the bookstore ready when it comes out. Let me tell you, I am so excited for both of you. That's when you know you made it, is when you get a book coming out.
My first signing actually is in Fredericton at Westminster Book downtown in Fredericton on November the 2nd. So that'll be a fun one to be a part of because it'll be the first one. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah, and all of your fans coming and taking pictures.
It'd be nice to see a lot of people. This really is quite encouraging to, and like I say, when I go out, I meet people. I like that. I usually get their names and which platform they're watching on. Usually it's TikTok.
Of course. And are you migrating to any other social media platforms, or is TikTok like where you're headed?
YouTube and IG. I think we've got over 1.5 million on YouTube and over 1.2 million on Instagram. So we like both of those platforms, but TikTok is kind of home.
TikTok is home. I love that.
Yes.
You sound like every Gen Z person out there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And so on the podcast, we always kind of wrap up by asking our guests what they love most about the other person. So whichever one of you wants to go first, but what do you love most about the other person?
I can go first. I'll go first this time. My dad is never like afraid to kind of like take on new challenges and stuff like that. And it's been an inspiration to me because I always think like, well, when you're trying something, it's always really hard at first. And, you know, there's always the feeling of wanting to give up or to be too hard or down on yourself. And dad just throws himself, you know, at something full force and just, you know, gives it his all and just kind of sees what happens. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, the effort's always the same. So I'd say it's probably that is the.
Aw.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think for me, I look at Dave and I see what a great husband and a father he's been. And when I look at that, I'm proud of how he and a friend. Like people like him, and they like him because he's such a great guy. I mean, he's the kind of person that you would always invite, you know, to a get together or whatever, because he brings that positive energy and he's fun to be around, and he has a tremendous sense of humor.
That's awesome.
We laugh a lot.
Good. I love it. And I mean, going back to, everything just started with, you know, that raw, you guys just hanging out, father, son, and it turned into this crazy TikTok phenomenon, which is just so admirable to look at and so nice to have a parental son figure like that too.
Yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride.
What's been like a highlight through this whole journey that you look back on and you're like, you know what, this was just like the best moment for me?
I have a hard time picking something. There's so many, right? I mean, I think probably getting the call from Penguin Random House, DK Publishing, and saying, "We want you to write a book." That was a pretty big highlight for me, because we never really we had thought about it. Maybe we could do our own thing, but to get a call from a prestigious company like that publisher, it was exciting.
Yeah, I found the pop-up that we did with the dialysis clinic.
Yeah.
It was my mom does dialysis, and the nurses and support staff are so great there, and we wanted to do something nice for them, so we had a kind of like a milkshake day sort of thing, and Chapman supplied the ice cream.
Wow.
We just made a lot of milkshakes.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
but that was a lot of fun.
I just got to walk around. David and Jeff, one of the guys that works there, made the milkshakes, and I think they made close to 100. It's a lot of milkshakes.
That is a lot of milkshakes. Oh my heavens. Well,
a lot of people kind of saw what was going on there, and they just were like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And we're like, "Oh, we're handing out milkshakes." So
yeah.
And we're close to a high school, so I kind of anticipated that might happen.
That would make sense for sure. And where can everybody find you guys?
Let me see, Madison, at the White Elephant on TikTok, and at the White Elephant 1900 on YouTube, and at the White Elephant, I think it's just an underscore on Instagram. So that's how they can find us.
Yes, and when does your book come out?
Comes out on October 29th. And it's available for pre-order now, just following the link in my bio, or you can go directly to Amazon.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Madison, for the invite, and it's really enjoyed getting together with you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Canadian Love Map. This podcast is presented and made possible by Charm Diamond Centers. It's hosted by me, Nancy Regan, and is produced and distributed by Podstarter. We love sharing love stories of all kinds, and that could include yours. So do you or someone you know have an uplifting tale to tell? Reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram using @CanadianLoveMap, or email producer@podstarter.io. We'll be back next week with another love story to add to the map.